Eldritch Scion Magus starting build. The most complicated subclass in the entire game, along with Cross-Blooded Sorcerer. This is a sorcerer subclass of Magus. He uses charisma instead of intelligence, like all other Magus subclasses. And I hate him because I'll need to make this build from scrap just for this subclass. Lower amount of spells with higher damage and bloodline selection is also a thing that differs from other subclasses. What also annoys me with this subclass, it's extremely good with at least 20 variations in races, classes, domains, spells, bloodlines and feats combos. Or better to say, million different ways of how you can play it. So, I cannot make a specific build and tell you to stick with it. I can offer one optimal build, explain you how everything works, and then you decide how you wanna play it. Remember, this is definitely the hardest subclass to play and master in the game, but I also believe it's the strongest class slash subclass that exists in the game. So we're gonna do it the old-fashioned way here. We're gonna talk about every bloody combination and I'll try to teach you how this entire mechanic works, cause this class really deserves so. We start with choosing race. We're searching for high dexterity and high charisma. Human, gnome, halfling, half-elf, tiefling, beast brood and spitespawn, Dampier, base and classic Dampiers, muse-touched and angelkin Asimars. They all work here. We're gonna start with human, then we go through the all other races as well. Background selection: regional diplomat, Nexian scholar, historian, Hadrian wanderer in regional, Varisian explorer, daredevil, sheckless corsair and Linorm kings. All of those are great to take. For this subclass, we're gonna pick daredevil. Allocating ability points. I would go for a full risk here with 7, 16, 16, 7, 7 and 20. This is an unfair build, by the way. Reason is very simple. This is one of the most offensive classes in the game. You want to burst as fast as you can. How you do it? With risking starting attribute points. How you do it in a game? You apply all possible buffs. You trigger buffs on your melee weapon, or better to say, you prepare a melee attack, then you open up with a long range spell into a freaking melee attack for a maximum amount of burst damage. You will have a chance to do it for at least 2 rounds until enemies react. By then they should be all dead, because this class hurts the most, this subclass, out of all subclasses. Those that don't like to risk, we're gonna go with 14, 14, 14, 10, 10 and 18. I like high risk and high reward. You decide how you wanna play this, we're gonna stick with this one. Allocating skill points. We only got 2 points because we risked a lot with intelligence, okay? And we don't need the others, to be honest, so we're gonna take mobility and persuasion. Feats. Buckle up, this is gonna be a long explanation of how the entire Magus class, or better to say Eldritch Scion subclass, works. I'll cover everything there is about Magus with this build. For the first feat, Weapon Finesse is a no-brain, it's a must. And for the second feat, we could take Evocation or any other spell focus that goes with Abjuration, Conjuration or Enchantment. But there are a million combinations here, and this is where we need to take a different and a bit more detailed approach. Your feats will depend a lot from your bloodline over here. So let's start and I'll try to give a few examples. For this specific build of Weapon Finesse and Evocation, we can take Arcane Bloodline, or on a level up, if we decide to go into Elemental Focus Fire, for example, over here, alright, we can go with a Red or Golden Dragon. Great choice to take if you went with Elemental Focus Fire is also Elemental Bloodline Fire. Do you see that we already have 4 builds, 4 different builds just for fire? And there are at least 4 more builds for fire. This is why I say that this subclass, or better to say the entire Magus class, is just way too freaking complex, especially for beginners. But what can you do? Let's continue explaining everything. If we decided to go with Elemental Focus Acid, for example, we would take a Green Dragon or we would take elemental bloodline earth. If we decided to go with cold elemental focus, we would take elemental bloodline water, or we would take a blue dragon. Have in mind that I'm still talking only about evocation. We got 7 more spell focus things left, from abjuration to transmutation. If we took, for example, necromancy over here instead of evocation, so we went with spell focus and necromancy, then we would take undead bloodline. And it would merge very well with Dampier, and then you can become a lech. Okay, a lech. Again, 1 million combinations, alright. If we, for example, choose in races here Gnome Pyromaniac, he gives a lot of fire, then we could go with fire, fire into elemental bloodline, fire all into infernal bloodline, alright. If we took transmutation over here where evocation is, or conjuration, then we would take Fey bloodline or serpentine bloodline. I just gave few examples. There are hundreds of different combinations. I hope I made it clear how all of this works. Eldritch Scion Magus, along with a cross-blooded sorcerer, is the hardest subclass to make in the game. Not to mention to make a perfect build once you start leveling up with mythic pets and with multi-classing and so on. Just when you add those mythic pets and multi-classing, your head is gonna burst. Alright. So, I'm sorry, but that's how it is with this subclass. At least we cleared some things here, and I tried my best to explain how the entire Magus system works. So, for our build here, to make it short now, we take Weapon Finesse, Evocation, and for our bloodline we can pick Arcane. There are at least 5 more bloodlines that merge well with this. Arcane Bond. If you think we're done, you're wrong. There is more, of course, there's always more with this subclass. Animal Companion or a bond with object here. You should bind with object if you know what you're doing. If not, the safest way is to pick Animal Companion. I would pick a lizard because of a natural armor bonus to armor class. Absolutely all of these pets are valid, pick what you like. Now we got bloodline class skill selection. I already explained how it works. For this case we won't have skill points, you know, so it doesn't matter what we pick here, pick world. It really doesn't matter. Choosing spells, we can only take 2 spells. Now have in mind, because we took Arcane bloodline, we will receive magic missiles for free. If we took some other bloodline, we would receive some other spells for free. Care what you pick for your spells, cause you do not want to duplicate them and you want to receive those bonuses from bloodlines. Alright, check the bonuses for every bloodline. Do not be lazy. So, this is the best early spell that you can take in the game, Magic Missiles, but we do not take it, we already have it. Alright, what we're gonna take here can be True Strike, so we can actually hit someone with melee. And we can take Burning Hands for some AoE damage. Choosing Deity now. You can take whatever you like. Deity doesn't matter at all. All that matters for this class, subclass, is Bloodline. We're gonna pick Calistria. Valid options are Kaiden Salian, Lamatsu, Norgober, Saranrea. Pick what you like. Same goes with alignment. At one point in the game, you will receive your most important upgrades on every 3 levels or so. Magus Arcana upgrades, to call them. You got 1 million options here again, and Magus is the most complicated class for a reason. Good one to take are Arcane Accuracy, Dimension Strike, Empowered Magic, Enduring Blade, Extend Magic, and Hasted Assault. Alright. If you decided to follow my advice and take a full risk with high dexterity and intelligence, then Hasted Assault will scale like crazy in the early game and onwards. We're gonna take that one first. Other races now is Eldritch Scion. For Elf, Halfling, Half-Elf, Half-Orc and Gnomes, we will stick with base versions, and then we're gonna copy the entire human build. Gnomes can also be played as Pyromaniacs, and I already explained in this build how they work, through Bloodlines. For Tiefling we can go with Beastbrute or Spitespawn, and then we're gonna copy everything from the human build. For Dampier, the only good and valid option would be classic base version of Dampier. You might want to consider him to be a necromancy feat, and then we copy the entire human build. His arcane bloodline will change to death instead of arcane. For Aasimars, we can take Muse Touched or Angelkin, and then we copy it all from human. For Angelkin, it might be good to take Celestial Bloodline. Again, there are 1 million options for this subclass. And just so we make clear, there are around 10 subclasses in this game that are extremely hard to balance out and comprehend for beginners. This subclass is one of them, if not the hardest one that exists. Stay away from it or pick easier difficulties if you really like it and you want to test it out. I did my best to explain how all of this works. After all, I released 200 builds for all classes and subclasses in this game. Pick one and have fun.